All right, it says we are live, so I'm assuming that we're live. Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today it's a live stream, which is a little bit weird. I never live stream, but here I am because I had the awesome opportunity of having our special guest, Chung Chow from the YouTube channel The Water Box on with us. And we are going to talk about nano reefs and, how beginner friendly they are or how not beginner friendly they are, just, in general the nano reef in the hobby of fish keeping. So
Hey
Chunks,
guys.
say hello there.
Hey. So that was cool. I was watching the stream over here and I popped up first before you did. I don't know why that happened.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
YouTube's showing favoritism now.
I guess
I see
so.
how it is. I'm trying to pull up the stream on my phone so I can watch it and I can like look at the, unless I can just kind of like minimize this.
You could, but then you're gonna get whacked because it's like delayed and
It'll
your
be
mouth
delayed
isn't
and
that.
it'll
Yeah.
be weird. Yeah.
I can't watch this. It's giving me a headache. Hey guys. So we're getting people coming in the chat now. So we got
Wonderful.
Ricardo Suarez. Pastor Dirtwood's cooking dinner right now. So
Suarez. It's a cool name. I like the name Suarez.
Charles W. also was in there. So cool.
All right. I've got it up on my phone now. Ricardo Suarez. Past the dirt roads in here. Rogue Tortoise. That's my friend in real life. I'm gonna have to pause.
Oh, so that's why he called you the absolute legend, huh?
That is why he called me the absolute legend. What's going on, Nikki? So, Chung, do you wanna kick this off with some questions, or should I do just like a general?
Well, I guess we're gonna talk about doing a nano tank, and I've been thinking about doing a 10-gallon nano, which I think Inappropriate Reefer did a video on, and that was something I just want to start before I try to kick my 55-gallon back up again, because I used to have a 55-gallon reef.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago, so I don't know all the ups and downs again anymore. So,
well, the reefing hobby has really changed a lot, especially, I don't know how long it was since you got out of it, but
15 years ago?
Yeah, 15 years, it has changed quite a bit.
Yeah. I figured that.
Yeah, especially working at a fish store, a saltwater fish store, because I get people who come in and they say, I was in the hobby 15, 20, even 30 years ago, and they're talking about like how they had like under gravel filters and everything. Like everything was just way different. And a lot of the things that we know now we didn't know back then, because we'll have, there was a guy the other day who was talking about how he'd keep anemones in his tank, and he wouldn't do dosing, or he wouldn't even test the water. He'd just change out the water, and he'd be able to keep an anemone for maybe, if he was lucky, like a couple of months before it died off.
Yeah.
And he just figured that's like the lifespan of an anemone. But now we know, like, no, the whole reason that the thing was dying was because of all the swings and the temperature adjustments and all of the trace elements that were going whack when every time you did a water change. That's what ended up killing it.
Well, you gotta remember also back 15 years ago, this is probably, you're gonna probably laugh at this, but everyone is buying anemones. Oh, I actually said it right.
Hey.
They were buying them bleached because they were white, they had pretty tips.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that they're supposed to be brown. That's how you know when they're healthy.
Right.
Yeah. That kind of thing. So they were buying all these white ones and they were dying left and right. And they couldn't figure out why. And then, a lot of us going, well, first of all, that's not a healthy anemone that you just bought.
Right. So you're just setting yourself up for failure right away.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you got a healthy one, that's just going to take over your tank after a while.
Exactly.
I've seen some people that had healthy anemones and they got them really small. And the next thing you know, in their like 300-gallon tank, it's all over the bottom of the tank. And I'm like, how in the hell do you control that?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's a kind of a good segue into like the first segment about the whole nano tank, which is a lot of people will set up a nano tank and they want to, keep their pair of clowns, because, especially if you're coming from freshwater and you haven't learned a whole lot about saltwater, well, you think of, your pair of clowns and you want to have them hosting the anemone, and you want some colorful corals and, all that jazz. But what a lot of people don't realize is that anemones are very difficult to care for, especially to a nano tank.
Right.
So if you are coming from freshwater and you want to start a reef tank, hats off to you. That's awesome. I love reef tanks. I actually like them better than my freshwater tanks. So don't crucify me for that, but
Well,
it's
just
true.
to be fair, his freshwater tank is just a freshwater tank. It's
That's
not a
that's
planet
true.
tank. It's
It's
not
just
high
the
tech. Like,
boring
yeah,
freshwater tank.
yeah,
But like I even when I got into my saltwater, I did all the research, and that's the most important thing that you got to do. You got to do your research before you buy anything, because it's not an inexpensive side of the hobby compared to freshwater. It's
right.
much more expensive. So if you buy an enemy, and you buy the anemone for like $60, okay, that's kind of being conservative, but we'll say $60, and then you buy maybe $100 worth of coral to go with it, and you put that in the tank. You put your power heads on the tank and all that. The power heads give you water movement because you learned through your books that you need to have water movement for the coral and all that. And you put all that in, but you didn't specifically research anemones. You just thought it would be cool to put them in that tank.
Yeah,
Well, that anemone you put in there, and you're like, this coral anemone is going to do super well in this tank. Well, that anemone isn't actually a coral, it's an invertebrate. So
right.
invertebrates, it's going to pick itself up and it's going to move. If it wants to move to a different spot, if it doesn't like the flow or doesn't like the lighting, it's going to pick up and move. So a lot of times that anemone is going to move all around your tank until it finds the power head. It's going to climb into the power head and it's going to get chopped up. It's going to kill everything in your entire aquarium.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, somebody learned that the hard way at some point and posted it on a forum, and everybody else has been learning from that. And here we are a couple of years later, and people
Yeah,
are
for
still making
sure.
the mistake.
Well,
But
okay. Well, quick shout out to Raccoon Creek Aquatics who just came on board. But
hey, raccoon, what's going?
so why don't we start here? So if I start now, my thing is starting a 10-gallon nano reef. Now, first of all, I know start bigger the better. I mean, that's for any either saltwater or fresh.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot of people say,
generally the bigger the better is what you would say. If you have, this is how my view of it. The bigger the better until you run out of money.
right, exactly.
That's where you
But
got to find the line.
yeah, but I want to jump into a small one. First of all, I want the challenge. I don't mind
Hmm.
if I mess up. That's how I learn, anyways.
Right.
I'll mess up on purpose just to see what happens half the time. But starting there, so okay, first question then: live sand or not?
Live sand is definitely a great thing to start with. The way I started my nano tank is super fast and super simple. My boss, Joel at the fish store, when I was getting into it, taught me how to do this, which is you put the live sand in the tank. Then you will buy dry rock. Dry rock is way cheaper than live rock,
Right,
and it doesn't have any chance of having bad parasites or, hitchhiker. They call them hitchhikers, so like
right,
bad bugs that'll get into your tank. The live sand is basically pure from all that, so you don't need to worry about it. You let it cycle for a couple of weeks, and you can throw in a fish after like a week or 2 weeks, depending upon your cycle. There's many different ways to do it, but the way I did it was I put the sand in, then I put the rock in. I let it cycle. The sand, the bacteria in the sand, would end up seeding the rock,
rock, yeah,
and probably about I'd say probably about 3 or 4 months. Well, probably longer than that. Maybe 6 months after I set the whole thing up. It was all set up. It was a full-fledged reef at this point, but I was getting a lot of algae over the sand.
hmm,
So I personally don't like sand in my reef tank. For display purposes, I think it looks natural, but it does get very, very dirty.
right.
So I ended up taking the sand out. But the sand served its purpose by cycling the tank in the cleanest possible way, without risking any hitchhikers.
Wait. So if you took the sand out, what's in it? Just bare bottom?
Yeah, it's just bare bottom. So you can see over here, you've got it. It's not as reflective. You wouldn't think that it's like actually glass.
Yeah.
That's because I've got coralline algae growing over it,
Okay.
which is it's really hard algae.
Okay. So okay, second question on still on the matter of sand, crushed corals.
Crushed corals are basically, you find them in basically any live sand.
Yeah.
So there are different substrates that you can get. There are some that like are crushed coral substrate, and they're a bit
Yeah.
coarser.
Okay.
Um, I wouldn't go for that. I would just go for your regular Carib Sea. Makes a very good live sand. There's all sorts of different color forms. You can get in black, you can get it in white, or like a mix of, salt and pepper type thing.
Hey, we didn't have all that 15 years ago. We
Yeah,
just had
right.
white sand, and then what we do is put crushed coil and then put sand on top of it.
Yeah. So it's very different now.
Yeah.
What you would end up, there's just going to be these bags, and they're filled with sand, and there's going to be some water in the bag. So the
Right.
sand's going to be already wet, and you just pour it into your empty tank, and that's going to be, your inch. I would go like maybe an inch, inch and a half of substrate. You don't
Nice.
need to worry about
Yeah.
the multiple levels or anything like that.
All right. So no layering in this point. So,
Right.
I mean, we already covered this next question. My next question was live rock or not live rock, but you kind of dry rock or live rock, and you kind of covered that. Is it still good to just start with live rock?
It is beneficial to start with live rock if you have a reputable source for the live rock.
You
Because
trust me, I know about Hitchhiker because I got a.
Yeah.
Remember, I had a. Well, I told you, or if anyone knows, I used to have a 55-gallon reef. That was 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And we had a hitchhiker, one of the worst hitchhikers you could ever get in the tank, which is a Harlequin shrimp. I believe it was the Harlequin
really?
shrimp. Yeah, it was clacking.
You mean
I was like, where's this clacking from? I called my friend out.
It would have been a
Mantis shrimp. Yeah, mantis
Yeah.
shrimp. Sorry. So there's this clacking, and I'm like, what is this? And I call my friend up. I go, can you hear this over the phone? This is back, when we had cord phones, whatever. But he's listening. He's like, dude, I think you have a mantis shrimp. That's bad. I'm like, are you serious? So he came over with a trap, and he caught it. And he's like, well, I'm going to sell it, so I'm going to split you the money or whatever. But yeah, and then he explained it to me because he's the one that got me all into the marine stuff. And he said, oh, yeah, it's bad. It's going to kill everything in your tank. I'm like, oh, geez.
Oh, yeah, those things will eat fish and everything. So there's so many different hitchhikers that you got to get that, in my opinion, live rock isn't worth it. It is still beneficial if you want to go that route. I'm not going to judge you for it. But I just don't think it's quite as safe as just doing the live sand. There's one exception about the live rock, which is you don't want to put dry rock in an already established aquarium.
Yeah.
And I heard this, and
wait. Say that again. You don't want to put dry rock in an already established aquarium?
Right. You don't want to put it with my tank right now. I would highly suggest against getting a fresh, clean, completely white piece of dry rock and putting it in this tank. Because what's going to end up happening is that that piece of rock is going to have to cycle. And when that piece of rock cycles, it gets really nasty, and you're going to get diatoms on it. You're going to get a bunch of algae on it. Okay. To this day, that's my worst rock. I actually ended up doing that a couple of months ago. I put in a piece of dry rock just to see what would happen. That rock has the most algae of any of my rocks, and it's getting there. It used to be a lot worse, but it was a mistake to do that. So if you're adding any rock to an already established aquarium, you're going to want to put in live rock.
Okay. Tom Reef says that you could add dry to the live tank. You're just not suggesting you do that, right?
Yeah, you can. You can do, like I said, I did it. You can, but it's going to look ugly for a long time.
And you got to wait for it to cycle and then cause the spikes, probably.
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't cause any spikes or anything because there's already cycled back media in there.
Media in there, right?
More bioballs to it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't cause any spikes, but it'll just look really ugly.
It just look really ugly. Okay, so aesthetics reasons you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Tom Reefman says it takes a few months to see. Interesting. Okay, so moving on from so we talked about the substrate, we talked about the live rock. Let's talk about filtration. Now, this back in 15 years ago, we were using canister filtration even for reef, but everyone's saying that's really bad now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, sump's the best way to go. Everyone's always hyping on sumps.
Right.
What about hang on the back? Because it looks like you have an in-tank filter over there on that tank there.
I do. A lot of the things that you'll see with nano tanks nowadays, especially ones that are designed to be nano tanks, is that you're going to have the in-tank filter,
right,
which is this shaded portion back here, which is it's built into the tank, and it's got the divider, and they kind of make the whole filter with different chambers for the water to flow through in the back.
Now, what Inappropriate Reefer did was actually use a aqua clear and made a, I guess, a tiny refugium out of it. So what you
Mhm.
guys call it? Yeah, refugium. And he did it that way. And I guess everything else is cycled through the rock and everything in the tank itself. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people talk about just having live rock and live sand being your biological filter.
that basically is what it is in a reef tank. You can add. I added bio balls to my tank to my back compartment just to be safe, just to be sure
Yeah.
I had enough. I mean, I've got a ton of rock in here, so it really shouldn't be an issue. But just to be safe, I did.
Yeah.
But what you were describing of for the inappropriate reefer, I think what you're talking about is the Triton method. Is something
Okay.
that they call the Triton method, which is you don't have like any filter set up. You've got like algae and you've got water movement. And he's got his refugium from the aqua clear, but other than that, there's no, mechanical filtration or anything like
Right.
that. I personally don't
Well, he
think
put a
that's a
sponge
good
in it,
idea.
so he has mechanical filtration.
Oh, he does have
Yeah.
mechanical filtration.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a semi Triton method that it sounds like
Yeah.
he's got going on over there, which I would definitely always keep mechanical filtration in. That's like the biggest thing. But you could theoretically, like he did, just set up an aqua clear, put your filter floss, and then you could put some macro algae in there, or just have a regular filter. Some people run carbon in a reef tank,
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
I don't run carbon or any chemical filtrations on any tank if I
Oh,
can
me
help it.
neither.
It's just annoying. Especially with planted tanks.
Mhm.
I always like advise against it. Well, because you're messing with the water parameters at that point.
Mhm.
Unless you really, really need it to clear out water or something, you don't need to have it always in your tank or
Yeah,
your
that's the
filter.
only
Sorry.
time. That's the only
Yeah.
time I'll use carbon at all will be to clear up the
Yeah.
water quality.
So same
Other than
rules,
that,
I
it's
guess,
not
pretty much
necessary.
applies to marine reef tanks. Then I
Yeah,
guess, right?
especially with you with the more advanced the more advanced planted tanks, you're gonna find a lot of similarities between stuff where
Yeah.
like there's stuff that some people do that you're just like, why the heck would you ever do that?
Yeah.
And some people swear by it. It's really individual tank and what you find works out for your tank
Right.
in the long run.
Okay. Now let's talk about a little flow now. And I know this is going to be different depending on the type of corals you have, and I
Mhm.
guess that depends on the placement in your tank. But flow is very important, and what I always try to bring across to everyone in planted tanks that flow is important too. But flow is important in a reef tank, right? So how do you
Very.
know? I guess you have to do your research on which corals you get to understand
Yeah.
how much flow to give it, right?
The yeah, the biggest thing is to know what type of coral you want to keep. In this tank, I have an ice cap gyre 1K, which is like pretty much the highest quality and highest flow, rate that you could have in like a 13-gallon tank.
Okay.
I only run it up to 30%, so it is like way overpowered for the tank.
Yeah.
But what I like about this and what is very, very important for reef tanks, especially nano reef tanks, because it's so small, you need to have everything controlled down to like the minute detail, is that you need to be able to, change up your flow and your directional stuff. It's all very like placement of the corals is
Yeah.
very important.
Okay.
So over here, I've got this directed up towards the surface, so I get a lot of surface agitation. I was having some issues when I didn't have as much surface agitation. You'll get like an oily film on top of
Hmm.
the water. So I wanted to make sure I got rid of that. And then I'll have one directed down like a little bit more than the other one. So I get, the one way up at the surface, and this one's like blowing in this direction.
Right.
And I've got one blowing in the same direction, but maybe a little bit more down like this.
Okay. So you get multiple flow action
Multiple
going.
flow, and then it'll flow around the tank. So it starts here and it'll flow around and it'll go down like that.
Yeah. Get a cycle going. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Dub Rexy21 says prolific feed came across the media basket from Amazon, so you don't need to modify the Aqua Clear 70. I think that's what Inappropriate Reefer had to do, was modify the basket or the internal thing to make it work.
Oh,
The,
okay, yeah.
yeah, the other thing that is interesting here is Tom Reefman says leather. I have leather corals in my mixed tank. I gotta have carbon sometimes because they release nasty toxins.
That is true. Leather corals will release like a mucus and a toxin as like a chemical warfare with
Yeah,
each other or different types of corals mainly. So in leather heavy tanks, or like maybe if you have a big leather, you can run carbon to take care of that. I don't have any leathers in here, so I don't run carbon.
yeah.
I've never found the need to, but if
So
you
I
do leather heavy, then you probably want to run some carbon.
so I guess we have to keep that in mind when we're dealing with corals. That we have to find out if they're like compatible with each other or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's a lot of different levels of coral compatibility. Like you talk about fish having compatibility. Like this fish is going to eat that fish. Well, the same thing's kind of the same way with corals. So a lot of them you don't need to worry about like chemical warfare, except for the leathers. They will, do chemical warfare, especially with. I believe they will with SPS. I'm not sure on this. I'm not a huge leather guy, so I've never really
Uh,
done a whole lot of reading on them. But SPS in general, which are the small polyp stony corals, and LPS will like fight with tentacles and all that.
oh, that's right. That's why you want to keep them
Yeah.
away from
So
each
you
other.
got to keep them away from each other. There's all sorts of things that, I mean, some of them have super long tentacles and they'll like grow super fast and like just annihilate everything. And then other ones just chill.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, we went through the flow and then lighting. I guess the next thing is lighting.
Mhm.
Now obviously same rules apply to a planet tank. Too much lighting causes algae, kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
or okay. And how does that balance? Is it when you give it just enough lighting so the corals grow faster? It's taking up the nutrients for the algae. Does it work the same way that way?
Well, coral is not going to act in the same way that a plant will, in that it will outcompete, algae,
Yeah.
which it doesn't do that because most corals, some do, but most corals don't utilize nitrates and phosphates in their
Okay.
growing process, or at least not enough to make a difference. Um, so that's why people have a lot of cleanup crew. They'll have a lot of hermit crabs, or like a sea urchin is my favorite cleanup crew ever. A lot of snails to eat the algae because to have enough light to really grow corals, especially SPS corals, which demand a lot more lighting, you're going to end up growing some algae unless you keep an extremely low nutrient system.
Well, you like the coralline algae is the one that everyone wants to get, right? It's just the
Right,
other algae you don't want to mess
right.
with.
The coralline algae it does play a role in that. It isn't super good at soaking up any of those nitrates and phosphates. I mean, it does it a bit. But what people will do is they'll put something called an algae reactor if they have a smaller tank and no, sump. But if you have a sump, the same type of thing as a refugium, where you
Yeah.
put stuff like Kato algae, which is like it's almost like cotton candy type stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not as fine as cotton candy, and that'll soak up and stay in that area. It won't spread out through the whole tank. It'll stay in that area and it'll soak up all those nitrates and all those phosphates and outcompete the other algae that might be in that tank. And in the refugium and in the algae reactor, you'll light them with really strong lighting overnight while the other algae isn't getting any lighting. So they
Uh-huh.
can't, convert those nitrates and phosphates. Those ones will be, so they'll be out competing it in that way as well.
So it's like
That's
an algae scrubber. That's what we call it
yeah,
in,
yeah. It's like
I
a
guess,
marine algae
freshwater.
scrubber.
Yeah. Okay. Marine algae. Okay. Cool. So that's the lighting. So I guess, yeah, I think one of the big thing I remember back when I had the reef was the stupid green bubble algae.
Uh-huh.
These things were so annoying, but I had my emerald crabs handling all that.
Yeah,
But is emerald crab still a thing nowadays?
they're still a thing nowadays. People people have like found them to like some of them. They're kind of very individual, but
Yeah,
some certain like individuals will eat zoanthid polyps and stuff. So
that's what
they're
I've
hit or
been hearing.
miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, I had a cool one. It didn't eat any of my algae. It ate the bubble. Not. It didn't eat any of my corals, but it did
Mhm.
eat the bubble algae and whatever. Um, but so I guess the algae control in marine is you rely a lot on the cleanup crew, right?
You do, yeah. It's very important to have a good cleanup crew. I mean, especially in a nano tank because nano tanks are notoriously hard to keep the nutrient levels low. Especially if you're feeding your corals or you're feeding frozen food that are higher in phosphates and like
Right.
nitrates just naturally, then it is going to be harder to keep those nitrates low. But if you got to keep up on your water changes, and you just got to have a good cleanup crew in there.
Okay.
The
And nowadays,
the best
what's considered a good cleanup crew? Is still hermit crabs and
hermit crabs.
shrimp.
I found hermit crabs to actually be very good at the sand. Some
Uh,
people, Nasaria snails are good at cleaning up the sand. Sand sifting stars are a bit too big for a nano tank like that, but once you get into bigger tanks, you can use a sand sifting starfish.
okay.
So that like the hermit crabs will also eat hair algae. I haven't found them be super good at eating hair algae, but they can do it. So those guys, you got to keep multiple hermit crabs, and then you got to keep refreshing them because they'll kill each other because they're
Okay.
jerks.
Sorry.
They
What?
do that.
The which ones?
The hermit crabs will kill each
Oh.
other.
Oh. Okay. Got it. Yeah. They're always doing the battling thing, right? Yeah.
Right.
What about shrimp for a nano tank? Now, I used to have a cleanup shrimp. I forgot what kind of shrimp it is. Shoot, what
Cleaner
shrimp?
shrimp, peppermint shrimp.
Peppermint shrimp, I think is what it was.
Mhm.
It was cool. It hid always behind that one area of the tank and stuff, but it cleaned up whatever it needed to clean up. What kind of shrimp would you get for a nano tank?
You can do a peppermint shrimp. You could do a cleaner shrimp. They get kind of big
Yeah.
for a nano tank, but you could. I have had him in the past. He ended up dying because I had a or alkalinity swing, but we're not going to
Yeah.
talk about that. Um, but yeah, you can't. A lot of the shrimp you can keep in a nano tank. They're not going to get super big.
Yeah. Okay. All right. On readings, we're talking about pH readings. You want pH what? 8? High? You want them high, right?
pH I actually don't pay a lot of attention to.
Or is
Your
it not that
pH,
important?
it's it is important, but it's something that you can kind of just leave on the side, at least in my experience. I know a lot of
Mhm.
people test it, but if you test your alkalinity and you test your calcium, and every once in a while your magnesium, then your pH is going to kind of stick around, the right spot. The
Okay.
alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium are the ones that you really want to
So
watch.
you want to pay attention to those, and then
Right.
pH will balance itself. Okay, got it. And what's the other thing? Oh, salinity. What do you keep salinity at on in the nano?
Salinity in a reef tank, salinity, I like to keep around 25, 26. So some people go as low as 24. They can survive down to like 23. Fish tanks, purely fish tanks, you can go as low as like 22 to 23 is the
Okay.
general suggested for fish tanks. But the perfect number would be 1.025.
1.025.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did people keep it at certain rates when 1.05 is the rate you should be at?
It can be harder to maintain a certain salinity. Like if it's just really easy for you to keep it at 1.026 or 26, then you'll just sit it at 26. It's not super important to keep it at a perfect number as it is to keep it stable at that perfect
Stable.
number.
Got it. All right, cool. So then we'll get into corals then, because that is the biggest question. Now I asked you before we started, because we talked a lot about the reef before we even started the stream. Um, Classification, no, the categories, not classification, but categories of corals. So we're talking polyps, um, soft corals, SPS, LPS.
Mhm.
And then you have the little special other little categories that everything else fits into. If you're
Right.
starting a little nano reef and you want something really easy, what are we starting with?
The first coral that I would ever put in a nano reef tank. I mean, you could probably even put this in during the cycle. I would never suggest it, but this thing is pretty much impossible to kill, and that would be green star polyps.
Okay.
You've seen them. I'm sure you've seen them. They're kind of like grass. They're like super neon-y grass. They will take over your entire tank if you're not careful. But you can like trim them back with a razor blade.
Ow.
Um,
I'm sorry. Coral's a little different from plants, whereas I feel like I'm hurting them if I cut them with a razor blade. It is very weird. I don't know why I have that in my head.
it's kind of a funny thing to think about because they are animals, and so a lot of people You don't really think about it when you're fragging a coral and you want to make coral frags. You actually cut off a piece of that coral.
Oh, poor thing.
But I think that it just as a general, even like the science community isn't quite, we don't quite fully understand corals. We know that they are an animal, but the way that they're structured is because you'll have a colony of coral. So I'm not sure whether the coral would be like each single polyp is a coral. I think that might be true because they'll grow from like one polyp that got, shot off into the waves or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's like removing that piece of the colony. Like if you had a ton of people in a room and then you like had everybody move to a different side of the room, or you like just put a wall in between the people and moved all those people to a different room.
Right.
You're not like killing anybody, you're just separating them. You know
Kind
what
of
I'm saying?
like separating cells almost kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I think the way I understand it is like that.
Yeah. All right. So okay, back to easy coral. You suggest the was it stargrass?
Green star polyps.
Green star polyp. Okay, cool. It's gonna take a while for me to get used to these names. You guys have cool names for corals, like I mentioned before.
Mhm.
Us plant guys just have really weird, simple, scientific names for our
Yeah.
common names. You guys just have the better cool names. That's the thing. So what other things would you suggest?
I would go with a Kenya tree coral. I'm gonna
Now
see if I can.
these are what, soft corals or
Kenya tree is a type of leather coral.
leather coral?
So
Okay.
yeah, it's I'm almost positive it's a type of leather coral. But it's also another one that's really pretty much impossible to kill. I'm gonna see if
Uh-huh.
I can pull up some photos here.
Okay. Now, while you're pulling up photos, Tom Reefman is asking, do you run Marine Pure in your Nano? I can't get nitrates with them. I have to remove most just to get nitrate readings.
I do not run Marine Pure. I don't run ChemiPure. I don't run any sort of chemical additives or filtration at all.
Oh, at all. Okay.
I probably should. I've been thinking about it, but the problem is with such a small tank, you need to be consistent on replacing it, and I just haven't. I don't have enough of a trust for like GFO or anything like that in such a small system.
Got it.
So what I would do if I were you, what was it, Tom
Yeah,
asked
Tom
this question?
Reefman. Yeah.
What I would do is try maybe an algae reactor because it might be able to get those nitrates lower without fully removing all of them, and it won't take them away very quickly. You won't get that sort of a dramatic drop in nitrates when you change out, your GFO, which would be your phosphates or like whatever your ChemiPure is. So maybe try an algae reactor, see how that works out for you.
That is so weird. You guys are weird because for us planted tank guys, we're just like, oh, plant more plants.
Yeah, right.
There's like, how do you get rid of nitrates? Plant more plants.
That's basically
Yeah.
what you're doing with an algae reactor.
Got it. So you're having the algae take care of the nitrates and eating it all. Nice.
Right.
Dub Rex is asking, is there something you wish you had or really want in the sense of corals?
In the sense of corals, something
Yeah.
that I
That
oh
you wish you
man,
had or really want.
like the one that I really, really want right now. It's kind of hard because a lot of the ones that I mean, I would really, really want, I would never put in this tank because I would be too scared of killing them. Um, but if I had to pick one that like I feel like I could keep alive in this tank and would be very beautiful, it'd be an Australian gold torch, which I'll show you in a second.
Cool. They're asking you to take off your shirt for them. It must be your friends.
Who was it?
Scooby Cub.
I don't know, probably. They
Uh,
probably make alternate accounts for me.
Tom Reefman is saying marine pure is biological,
Is it
not
biological?
chemical.
Oh, marine pure block. Is that what you're talking about?
I think that's what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, I've got marine pure spheres. I haven't had any issue with those bringing my nitrates too low. If you want like more nitrates, maybe feed more frozen food. I've never had anybody worry about needing more nitrates, to be honest. It's a pretty nice problem to have, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
But
Tom. Yeah, he's saying he's agreeing with you about
yeah,
the marine pier.
yeah. I've never had anybody tell me that the marine pure was bringing their nitrates too low. So maybe just try feeding a little bit more. I honestly, that's the best way to do it. All right, I'm gonna try to share it here. See
Okay.
if this works out.
Ah,
Whoa!
you're in the matrix. We're in the matrix.
Let's switch over here. All right, is
There you
that
go.
working for you guys?
Yeah, there you go.
This is a Kenya tree coral. This is
Oh,
the
that's
one thing
pretty.
I was talking about. It will grow really fast, but this is another very good beginner coral. That's one of the ones I started with. I started with those and with mushroom corals.
And you're saying those are harder to do or
No, they're
easier to
very
do?
easy.
Okay. They look cool though. Are they usually brown or are they more white?
They're always brown. Kenya
Right.
trees are always brown. You can get leathers that are white though. These are mushroom corals, also super easy. There are
Oh
tons
yeah.
of different
I
types of
had
them.
tons of those in my reefs. They just kept growing.
Yeah, they're
Everywhere.
crazy. And you can get super expensive ones like this one right here,
Oh, that's
or you can
pretty
get a ton of them like these blue ones that are super cheap.
nice.
So there's like this guy right here, this jawbreaker. Somebody said this one, yeah, $10,000.
$10,000 for a mushroom that looks like Skittles?
Yeah, isn't it crazy? There's
Yeah.
so much range, but these guys are really easy to take care of as well.
Well, can't you just feed your regular mushroom Skittles and hope it comes out like
I've never tried that. Maybe you could. Maybe you could. But I'm going to show you the golden torch. These guys. I
Oh,
would
those are cool. Are
love.
those easy or are those hard?
They're moderate.
Moderate?
That's why this is like the most expensive coral that I would ever dare put in a nano tank. Because
Because
they're moderate to care for.
I saw people with those in their tanks, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if I could put that in my little nano." See, that's the problem. I'm gonna get this like I want to make it easy. I'm just gonna get a 10-gallon nano reef, and I
Mhm.
keep seeing these people with these awesome corals, and I'm like, "Oh, can I put that in my nano reef?"
Yeah, right.
And then I see how big they get. I go, "I guess not."
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Well, you'll
Yeah.
get corals like that Australian gold torch. You might buy one polyp, one like a one head. They call them heads. One head of it. They can be super expensive nowadays. Now that like just the way that the imports are, it's kind of crazy. It gets all political, but
See, you guys not only have cool names, but you guys have good analogies. You know, you get to pay to buy some head. So I don't know where else
yeah,
you can get that. You know,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
exactly.
You don't
But
get
I
that
mean,
kind of thing with Planet Tanks. Well, maybe just say what I always say: stay wet, and people always laugh at that.
yeah, right.
Right.
But you can get like one head of Australian gold torch. Like the highest price I've seen is like $175 for a head, which is usually about like that big.
I'm sorry, dude. Every time you
It's
say,
expensive.
I know you're a younger audience, probably with a younger chat. I don't know. I don't. We shouldn't really go off on this innuendo thing, but it's just funny.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, you just if you gotta have a mind to think like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why you're in my stream, man. We
I
gotta
don't
keep this
know.
kid
I
friendly.
know. I'm bad. I'm bad. Tom
But
Reefman asked, "Are nano plant tanks easy?" Yeah, I mean, way easier than per se a coral reef because you're messing with plants. You're not actually messing with animals. And second, if you don't have fish or anything in a nano planted tank, you just go all crazy and all out. The only thing that's going to happen is your plants die on you. You don't lose that much money, and you won't feel guilty for killing life. Well, unless you're a vegetarian, I guess.
yeah.
So there you go.
But no, we need. I mean, the thing is, where was I? Yeah, the Euphilia, um, which is the golden torch. You'll get a piece that's smaller, but it'll grow multiple different heads of it. So you
Okay.
can then like cut them apart from the other ones and then like sell those. You don't need to have this whole massive colony like you would a plant. You know, your Anubias
Right.
plant gets too big, you trim it, and you might be able to plant it off in a different spot or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but that's generally, it's you don't need to keep the whole big colony.
Okay. So if I wanted to just like do all polyps kind of tank because I like how polyps look and how colorful they are. Would that be more feasible and easier to do
Oh yeah.
messing with other corals?
Yeah, I mean polyps are generally like the easiest type of coral that you can keep, or at least one of them, along with leathers. So if you have a ton of polyps, like your zoanthids are probably the most colorful ones.
Yeah,
You can grow a huge zoanthid garden, something super cool like that. And first of all, they're not generally as expensive, or you can buy them for cheaper,
yeah,
and then they'll grow, multiple different multiple heads onto it, and it'll just get huge.
yeah.
Or you can, have a ton of little ones and then end up fragging them off and, grow your collection to have like millions of different color morphs of zoanthids as well.
Okay. Now, why do some people have frag racks? Is it just to grow out the coral before they stick them on the rock, or?
Yeah, a frag rack serves multiple purposes. I've got a frag rack right here. I just got it. It's like acrylic. It's made out of acrylic. I think it looks super neat. But the issue I was having was I had these zoanthids and they were on the bottom, and I didn't really have a good place to put them, but I wanted
Yeah.
to be able to look at them. So I had, the frags, but they'd be on the bottom and I couldn't really see them. So what I ended up doing was I bought this frag rack. It was only about like 20 bucks on Amazon, so it really wasn't bad at all.
Mhm.
Um, and then I cut all the zoanthids off of their original discs or plugs, and I glued them onto the, like little frag plugs, which are about
Yeah.
like that
But
tall
yeah.
and like really small around. And I put them in there. So they're up, in a better spot for them to grow. And they're also, very easily visible. And I think it looks pretty good. Another good way to show them off. That's, one way to do it.
Okay.
The other way is just for ease of maintenance. You can pull the coral off of it very quickly, very easily, and then clean the actual rack and then put it back in. That's why all fish stores have them, because you can pull them off right away and sell
Right.
them.
So yeah.
There's just
So
a ton of
okay.
different reasons to do it.
But it's just kind of weird though. When if you had a reef tank, wouldn't you, for display purposes, wouldn't it be better just grow them on the rock and make them look more natural than putting
It
them on the rack?
Yeah, it is. And the way, like, I've got a lot of mine growing, on the rock. The only reason that I've got these guys on the frag rack is I don't have a good place for them on the rock. Like I was
Yeah.
saying, they were down here. I couldn't really see them, but there was no good place to put them on the rock.
Got it.
So what I ended up doing was putting them up there. So it was a little bit more presentable than just having, frags rolling around the bottom.
Okay. Got it. All right. So then I guess finally, I mean, all right. So if I'm gonna start this, what advice, tips would you give me other than what we've already talked about?
Like what I would want to know. Oh, I don't. It's kind of hard because when you start off something like this, there's so much stuff that you don't know, and then you pick it up as you go along,
Mhm.
and it ends up being just part of what you know. So you don't remember learning it or anything like that. The only times that you really remember learning a lesson is when you screw up, and that's how
Right.
you learn that lesson.
Right.
So what I would say, like the first things to avoid would be make sure you test your water. That's like number one.
Uh-huh.
Make sure it's super, it's tested and it's even. When you do a water change, make sure that the alkalinity and the calcium of the water that you're putting into it, if I do a 5 gallon water change on this every week,
Uh-huh.
and that's a lot of water. So if I introduce 5 new gallons of water that has an alkalinity of 7 and a calcium level of 350, but my tank from my dosing is up to alkalinity level of 9.3 and my calcium is held at a steady like 410. Well, I'm introducing like basically half of the water volume of this is like much lower. So you're gonna have a dramatic drop, a dramatic swing, and that's what's gonna end up killing your coral.
Okay.
So I
So
think,
keep it even as possible and balanced, right?
right, it can be a huge, massive pain to do that, to get your water and then have to test your tank water and then have to test the new water that you're putting in and then dose your new water that you're putting in very small amounts until it gets to where it is. Um, but you have to do that if you want to keep these corals alive.
Right.
And that being said, you won't have to do that right away. I have to do this because I'm dosing this tank, and I've got like a massive monopora colony in here. I have a ton of corals that take up a ton of alkalinity and a ton of calcium so that they can grow.
Yeah.
So that's where I have to dose it to keep it even, and that's what I have to do. As far as water changes goes, it's a pain in the butt, but it has to be done.
Okay. Gotcha then.
If I
All
had
right.
just zoanthids, I wouldn't have to do that.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Back to lighting really quick, because I'm thinking this up right now. We have to worry about in a marine reef tank, mostly on the blue spectrum, right? Range.
Yeah, it's generally what you'll find is the blue spectrum. That's what the corals will use
Right.
most. You'll get a little bit of what you want, a little bit of white. You could have a little bit of violet, especially like with a AI prime like this, that you can program it up and down. There's all sorts of fancy stuff you can do.
Okay. Well, does the corals get anything from the other spectrums, the green and the red spectrum?
I'm not gonna pass it off like I do know all of this perfectly, but I would say they must. They have to. But I don't think that it's as necessary as the blue. The blue spectrum is what they're gonna use
Yeah,
at majority.
because I'm thinking, well, just understanding the science of it, why it's blue is because blue penetrates the water way easier than
Right,
red and green. So in the
right.
sea, that's why in the ocean, that's why deep in the ocean where the corals are at, that's what they're getting. So that's what. See, I'm wondering in like a marine tank that we have at home, since depth's not really involved, does it matter? You know, I guess there's something
Mhm.
that I have to really look up, but
It
what
does matter because the way that the corals have been, designed, the way that the corals, their whole like system, the way that they, photosynthesize with the what is it, zooanthate or whatever's in their polyps or whatever it is.
yeah.
Um, it's designed to be able to capture that blue light and to use that blue light because in nature, that's where they are. That's the light that they're getting.
Right.
So they still that's how they've adapted. That's how they've evolved to live there. If you've got that in a tank here, they're not going to realize that, hey, we're only in a foot of water and we can use all these different, light spectrums coming from the sun or
Right.
whatever. It's just the way that they are. They're going to use that blue light spectrum.
Now, what I understand is not all corals go through photosynthesis. In fact, a lot of
That
it
is
don't,
that's
right?
true.
Because they're
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot
polyps,
of them
or
don't.
is it polyps, or yeah, I guess they're polyps. So they don't always, or they don't really do photosynthesis. They actually
They they
eat.
there there are some corals. I wouldn't say a lot. There are some corals that basically don't photosynthesize at all. Um, and those would be like your Goniopora, I think is one of them. And your I don't know, one of the branches. It has a really similar name, similar name to the Goniopora. I'll think of it at some point tonight, and I'll be like, that's the word. But there are a couple of them that don't photosynthesize at all. But polyps, like your zoanthids and stuff, they don't need to be fed because they do
Right.
photosynthesize, but they do benefit massively from being fed.
Being
You'll see
fed.
them
Okay.
grow a lot faster if they are fed.
So I guess that's why they're considered easy to handle or maintain
Right.
because you don't have to always feed them, kind of thing, right?
Right, and they can survive those higher nitrate levels, and they can survive those swings, and you can keep them out of water for like over an hour and put them back in the tank, and in like a day they'll be open up again.
Yeah. Okay. Jay Carey actually brings up a good point here. I totally forgot to ask about this. Stability, temperature, and salinity is very important in the nano, in his opinion. Now, what about temperature in a in
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Jay Carey's uh, really right about this. Salinity, like I was saying before, is very important
right?
in any reef tank, and it's harder to maintain in a nano reef tank. Temperature is another thing that I struggled with for probably like my first year of having this tank. Until I invested, I think it was like $140 or something in a Reefkeeper Lite computer system.
Okay.
What this system does, it's got a temperature probe, which is like this thing right here.
Yeah.
This is the temperature probe. And this probe, well, it takes the temperature of the tank, obviously. And it sends those readings to the actual, like, you can see it right here, kind of in the bottom of the screen. This is like the computer system. And the computer system, if it sees that temperature drop the way I have it set, if it sees the temperature drop below 77 degrees Fahrenheit, it will turn the heater on through a power bar. It'll turn power on to a certain outlet. You can program it a bunch of different ways. But that's how it works. And then if it goes over, I believe it's like, I think I have it set to like 77.2. So I have it like really dialed in. If it goes over 77.2, it turns it off. In the summer, it's a little bit more difficult. I usually put a fan on it, and I have the fan turn on if it goes over 78. Yeah. So there's different stuff you can work with there, depending upon where you live.
Oh, that might be a big problem for me.
In California.
My planet tank, well, because I don't turn on the AC. You don't do that in like the summer in Southern California because everyone's turning on the AC and they double charge electricity during those periods. So. And they always put out flex alert, which means turn your shit off. Oh, stuff off. Sorry. Well, when they put out that alert.
Good old California, man.
Yeah, good old California. Prevent things blowing up, I guess. But then what happens is that, like, for example, my planet tank downstairs, the 20-gallon, got up to 89 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. So, dang. I mean, my plants were like kind of like suffering. They're kind of like, we're kind of freaking out over here, Yeah, the fish were fine, but it was getting really hot. So, and I'm not home during the day to, cool it down with something. So I usually leave, and I have the top off, so that helps. But that's going to be a problem for me if I can't, go that high on the reef tank.
Yeah, what I would do if I was you, your power couple for keeping the temperature low is going to be one, you're gonna want like a Reefkeeper light type thing, some sort of temperature probe to find out to turn on your fan. Or if it's really high, you don't even need to have that. You can just run a fan. Take the lid off of the tank, let the fan blow across the top of the tank, get that evaporation going to cool it down. But the other thing that you're going to need is an automatic top off, because with all that evaporation, your salinity is going to skyrocket.
Right.
So having that ATO, they make ones for nano tanks. They're pretty expensive. They're probably over like $150. But having that ATO is going to be, vital to keeping that temperature down and keeping the salinity level. Otherwise, you're going to have a ton of evaporation. You're kind of going to come back home to like a half-empty tank and a bunch of dead stuff because the salinity is at like 36.
Well, I could rig up an auto top-off system. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
So there's a thing that I think they still have. It's called an ice probe, where you drill your tank and you stick it in. Well, I don't know if you need to do that anymore. I think they upped the technology on that thing.
Yeah, chillers. You could do a chiller. Yeah,
chillers, right? Yeah, so they're expensive. That's the problem. But yeah. Okay, well, that's something I gotta think about too. Oh, that's gonna be bad during the summers.
You never know until you get to the summer and you're like, oh, dang, and you have to run out to like Petco or PetSmart somewhere that's like really close and like grab a bunch of stuff. And every fish keeper has had that panic at some point. You see a sick fish and you're like, I'm out of ick medicine. And you have to run to the fish store and grab the medicine and come back. And it's like,
or just fill up your freezer with ice blocks,
Yeah.
It's too funny. Yeah. Oh, Jay Carey's in California too. Very cool.
Hey.
Yeah. Summer does kill you now. So if you don't keep it cool. Oh, great. Well, I have to figure something out then, because that's definitely going to be bad for me. All right. Hey, Lisa Aquatics in the house. He's awesome.
Past the Dirt Road says that the last time me and you were together on a video is when he became a moderator for the water box.
Oh, wow. That long ago?
I need to get some moderators in my my chat here.
You gotta kind of do that on the PC. You can't really do it on your phone. That's the problem.
I can do it on my phone. It says I can do it.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
People keep telling me
Past
that
the
they
dirt
can't do it on the
road.
phone.
Congratulations, you're a moderator, dude.
Oh, now you
There you
gotta
go.
show up every time he does a live
Now
stream.
you've got responsibility. I want to keep the crap out of the comments section. You're the police, man.
Yeah, police those comments where it's telling him to take off his shirt. Hey, Blacksmith TV, how you doing? He's in the house too. Good to see you. Chris is in the house.
we got
Lots of
people coming in now. We got a whole 14 viewers now. I
Oh,
love
I know,
every
right?
single one of you.
So anyway, we were just, I guess, I'm just finishing up the Nano questionnaire.
The Nano
Q&A.
section. We could do a Q&A for either me or for Chung. Obviously, saltwater stuff would probably be best directed towards me, or you could, shoot it over to Chung to see.
Yeah, I'm
how
just going to tell
fluid
you to
he is
ask
about
him
it.
because I haven't done saltwater in ages. That's why I'm here talking to him. Everything's good, Lisa. How are you doing? Hope you're doing good.
I see Crystal Shack in here. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Carissa's in the house too. I always call her by her name because I like her
Shishi's
name.
Beta's in here.
Is Shishi in here? Oh,
Yeah.
there's Shisha. How you doing? Shisha? Shishi. Sorry, Shisha. That was my Asian coming out. Shisha?
Little Wings is in here. Said
Nice.
hi, guys.
How you doing,
Hi,
Little
Little
Wings?
Wings.
You guys got any questions? Let us know, and we'll try to answer the best we can, I guess. But most of the time, I guess, is us babbling.
It is interesting to talk, with somebody one-on-one, like I'm talking with you about all of the nano tank specifications, because a lot of the things I've said, just like in this whole chat, I've said like 30 times to people who come into the fish store, which is why I love working at a LFS, because
Right.
somebody will come in and they're like, I'm setting up an aquarium, what should I do? And I'm like, oh dang, I love this part. And you just get to
you could always just
tell them all the
show
stuff.
them a video. That, here, watch this video. I'll be right
Subscribe.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Go.
Exactly. But it's that sort of stuff. It's really fun to. I'm excited for you because getting into it is probably there's like the most exciting parts so far for me have been getting into it, and then you get into this is how your roadmap goes, right? You get into it right here. This is where you get your tank, and you set it up, and it's beautiful. You've got white sand, you've got sparkling white rocks, everything is beautiful. And then you hit the algae right here, and you get a ton of algae, and you're like, well, this blows. You've got so much like nasty green all over the place. But you've added your fish, and you've added your hermits like maybe like a day later, because I gotta get rid of this algae with these hermit crabs and stuff. You see the little hermit crabs crawling around, like, this is sweet, this is awesome again. And then you have your first tank crash, and like something dies or something like that. It's inevitable. Something horrible is going to happen unless you're like super lucky. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to learn from it.
Well, you know
like,
what? You're just describing everything on a planet tank anyways. That's pretty much what we go through too,
I feel like this is true through all aspects of every type of fish keeping,
Especially when something dies.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan's asking me what Nemo's father's name is. I don't know. I don't remember.
That's Nemo. Marlin?
Marlin?
Is it Marlin? I think it's Marlin.
I haven't watched that movie in ages.
I don't know why you're asking me. I mean, you could just Google it.
That's true. I think
just
being a smartass. That's
just minimize the chat. Nemo's father name. Marlin. Yeah, I was right. Okay, it is Marlin. I was correct.
Crystal Shack says, so saltwater gear is super expensive here. Could I just be a super dork, get a saltwater setup, and go raid the rock pools in the coast? Haha, I'm a complete saltwater noob, so no idea. Actually, you can. She lives in New Zealand.
Wow.
So I guess
if it's legal.
Yeah, if it's legal, I guess
you'll probably get sued out the wazoo if you get caught raiding a coral reef.
But hey,
what's life without adventure, right?
Exactly. She go with the hammer and chisel and just go diving and get some live rock, and there you go.
Yeah, exactly. But she brings up a good point. I mean, if you want to compare saltwater tanks to freshwater tanks, I don't know. I don't want to say, nor do I really know like the exact price of my nano tank has been so far, but I'm gonna just guesstimate that it's over 2 grand for like this thing, like this little tank.
Yeah, if you
And
buy
that,
everything, yeah.
yeah,
Unless you live off of New Zealand or Australia and you just kind of go a little hunting.
right,
Yeah,
right,
illegal
right.
hunting. Yeah.
But
So
I
we have a
think,
question
oh,
here
go ahead.
really quick from Little Wings. Many people watch you and other fish keeping YouTubers to learn and get into the hobby. Who were your YouTubers that got you in the hobby and why?
That's a very good question, actually. You can answer this first if you want, Chung, because I'm sure. Well, you might have
Well, I
some. I
already
don't know how long
told
you've been
it.
doing
I
it.
told the story in one of my videos. It's really watching Joey because I binge watch. When I
Mm.
decided to get back into this hobby, I'm like, all right, let's go see what's out there. And I just landed Joey because I want to learn how to do the DIY stuff so I don't have to pay out my butt for equipment.
Yeah, right, right.
Which is stupid because after I got into the hobby, I just paid out the butt for equipment, regardless
Anyway,
of anyway,
right.
right?
I don't have time to build an aquarium. I would
Yeah.
think at building an aquarium anyway. I can't do this, so you just buy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Yeah. I mean, after DIY, you're like, oh, too long. I'm just gonna go buy it.
Yeah, right.
And then,
Um,
I decided, hey, if I'm gonna get back into this, why don't we do a YouTube channel? I'm already on YouTube doing the
mm,
tabletop and all that stuff. So I bet I could make some good videos out of it. And that's how
and
I
hey,
got.
look where you are now.
Yeah.
But my answer to that question, I'm gonna steer away from your generic Joey Mullen answer. Though it is true, I would listen to his podcast back when he had the app and everything. So he was one of them. I think the biggest one that really got me into like, I might actually be able to do this, or like this
I
is
know who you're gonna say. I know
super
who you're gonna
interesting.
say.
You do?
Think I know who you're gonna
Who
say.
is it?
Challenge the Wild.
No,
No? Oh, okay, never mind.
no,
Because I
no,
remember you
close.
mentioning that.
He's probably one of them because he was a teenage, he's a teenager like me.
Oh, okay.
So that's when I really realized that, as my age wouldn't be a hindrance. But I think the first one was KG Tropicals. I was
God.
getting into my cichlids, and I was watching John and Lisa and stuff. I'm like, this is really cool. You know what they're doing? They've got a real connection with their viewers and all that through their Q&A and stuff. So that was probably the first one. That's like really what spurred it. Like I think it would be really cool to have this and have Q&A and do live streams and all that.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think I might have even found them before Joey Mullen, and then I found Joey Mullen and I watched some of his stuff. Uh, I think I found Aquarium Co-op after that, and then I found Challenge the Wild. And once I saw Challenge the Wild, I was like, "This guy's doing it. I can definitely do it."
For sure.
I'm joking. That's all.
I like you
It's a
better than
joke.
nothing against him, but I like you better than him anyways. I think you're
Hey,
gonna go a long way if you keep it up.
I
Um,
appreciate it. I
yeah, I
appreciate it.
do.
But
I do.
no, Challenge the Wild was a big inspiration as far as I saw what he was doing, and he obviously makes great videos. And his subscriber count shows it. He's earned it. But I realized that you know being young, it might be a good time to try to get into it. Because I I'm young,
Yeah.
right? I've got a lot of time to get there. I've got a lot of free time. I don't have to work a whole job, which I do anyway, but I don't have to work a full-time job. And I could work on a ton of different stuff and still try to get this done. So I think that seeing him doing that and being successful with it, even though he was younger, was a big inspiration to me as well. You can actually see on my channel, I don't know what I'm gonna look. Pardon my looking away from the camera because I'm actually gonna look something up on my channel here. But in my videos, I made when he hit, I think it was 20,000 subscribers. When he hit 20,000 subscribers, I made a video like congratulating him on the 20,000
Right.
subscribers, which I can't even watch nowadays. It was very, very quickly put together. I had this like, I saw that he hit 20,000. I was like, that's super sweet because he's 16 or whatever he was at the time. And I figured I'd film this video, but then I realized I got to do some sort of gimmick. So I took colored paper and I cut it up and I made like some makeshift confetti. The light, I didn't set up any of my lights in my room. I was like, the lighting sucks, so whatever. I opened my windows. My windows are above my bed. So I basically like stood up on my bed, opened the windows and faced towards the windows and used the natural light. Put the drapes, the curtains behind me as like a backdrop and just like filmed like a super short segment congratulating him
Oh,
on the video.
did he actually see it though?
I don't think so. He's seen a couple of my videos. I think it's kind of I don't really care if he does. It's kind of a running joke now though that like I just made this video. I'm trying to find when it was. You guys can all go watch that video. Yeah, 1 year ago. My thumbnail is garbage. Yeah, and it's 1 minute and 25 seconds long.
Oh, jeez, that's too funny.
But it brings and I'm young. I look really young.
Look back, all your young videos, and then you'll be able to say, "Oh my gosh, cringe worthy."
Oh no, dude, seriously. If you're watching this, don't look at any of my old videos. Hey, I cannot.
Yeah, he was really young when he did that. I was like, how old is this kid?
I was not like I mean, technically speaking, I wasn't really all that young. I started like maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah, I looked young. I hadn't like fully like I was like 14 and a half or 15 or something.
Yeah, so, but you're at the age where you grow quick. So
yeah.
So,
but I look back on those, I'm like, first of all, my hair is awful. I don't know what it was just bad. But just like everything, like the lighting is just like the warm white lights from my room. I didn't have any fancy lights or anything like that. But it's all a learning experience. And I think if you're a fish keeper and you have a YouTube channel and you're watching this stream right now, or anything like that, first of all, the first thing I want to say is don't get discouraged because we all know that it's gonna stink. Like, I'm sure that there's some aspect you might have just posted a video that's really not doing very well at all, and you're like, ah, crap, I lost it. I totally lost it. Or you're a YouTuber who has made multiple videos. I'm coming up on, actually, I already posted my 100th video. I've posted over 100 videos. All right. And I look back, and that's not a whole lot compared to other YouTubers, but it's just, a decent amount of videos, 100 videos. So I went back and look at my old videos, and I can't watch them, and you won't be able to either. But I think that comes from, you just spend so much time and effort, learning it. If you spend so much time and effort learning it, and I would say to anybody, if you've posted over 100 videos and you just posted, your 100th video, and you look back, as long as they're not just like super short videos, and but you know what I'm talking about. If you look back at your first video and you're able to watch it without physically cringing and clicking away before like 2 minutes is up, then you need to put more work into your videos because nobody should be able to watch their first video. Like, it's just painful, but you got to leave them up because they're getting you views.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I still look at my old videos, and I just laughed. I was like, oh, I was just so naive then.
Well, and I'll look at like my top viewed videos, and a lot of them are older videos. And I'll be like, no, don't watch this video because all these new viewers are watching this video. And like, I actually intentionally went back into some of them and put cards in for like newer videos.
Yeah.
To try to get them to click on the newer videos because you want them to see, how production value has gone up or anything like that. But it's just like a love-hate relationship with those first videos because that's what got you here.
Exactly.
But and I'll look back at this video a year from now and I'll be like, dang, that sucked.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not this video because it's like a live stream and I've got Chung helping me out, but like other videos, that's just how it goes.
That's good. That means you're growing. That's a good thing. Now, they're going compensation. Oh yeah, like Crystal Shack, acquire your equipment slowly. That's the best way to do it. A couple of you guys are saying that. I know Lisa Aquatics did that too, because I believe, if I remember correctly, Lisa was getting frustrated with doing the freshwater stuff or something like that, and then she just slowly acquired all her saltwater equipment and then just set up her first tank. Oh, it was a cool little adventure to watch on her channel there on that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't ask me. I get around, I see what people are doing. I just don't say much. People are always surprised, like, you actually remember that video? Or you actually watched my video? I go, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just don't say much about it. So there's a couple of other questions here. Oh, by the way, Krista says she likes you better than Challenge Wild.
Aw, thank you,
That's
Crystal.
another vote on your end there. Thomas
I would
Harris
love.
says, oh, sorry,
I
go
would.
ahead.
I was gonna say I would love to collab with Challenge the Wild at some point
I'm
because
sure
we're
you guys
both
would be cool.
young.
Yeah, that would be a cool collab right there.
It's
Tom,
nice to have the wisdom of people who have been in the hobby a lot longer,
for
but
sure.
it's hard to find young people.
True, true. Thomas Harris says, I went from freshwater to saltwater. I have a 90-gallon tank, and I'm currently using 2 Marineland C530s because of cost. Any suggestions? I guess those are what hang on the back filters.
Yeah, that's what I think they are. So if you've got like a fowler fish only with live rock, I feel like hang on the backs are perfectly adequate for a fowler. Just because you don't need to have, all the different levels of filtration and biological exchange and flow rate that you need to have with a coral tank. But if you want to like soup them up, make them fancier, you could take something like he was saying, an appropriate reefer made, and maybe like make a refugium in one. Like you'd have to find a way to keep the algae from growing like into the impeller and all that jazz. But if you really like, if you read stuff and you see what people are trying to do, just think about it and try to get inventive with it. That's something that I have a lot of fun with. Is building my own stuff, and stuff that you build is gonna fail and it's gonna stink, and it's like, well, that didn't work, whatever. Like this filter that I made in my 10-gallon, which is like over here. I don't know. You can see the pothos out of it, and I just messed up everything. But that that 10-gallon, man, I built the filter for it out of like a lid to a storage bin, and this filter, it works okay, but it leaks. It's not like fully like sealed all the way around. So you're gonna mess stuff up, but it'll work just fine. Just get inventive with it. Try to figure something out for yourself, and like that's the most rewarding thing that I've been able to find.
Yeah.
Those are my words of wisdom.
Yeah, well, the other thing, yeah, I think that's the other problem with DIY for me, because I tend to. You ever watch? I don't know. You may be too young for this. The older crowd that's watching this might know what this is, but there's this show called Home Improvement.
Yeah, I know Home
Tim
Improvement
Allen.
with Tim
Okay,
Allen.
yeah. I'm him. I will make things
Yeah.
and I will blow things up. I mean, literally, I blow things up, and not on purpose. Sometimes on purpose. So DIY isn't my thing, especially when it comes to electrical stuff. Yeah, I tend to put the bigger motor than a motor or whatever electrical thing than I should. Instruction says put a
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
a
Oh,
20
Thomas said
watt power or whatever, and I end up putting 100-watt power thing on there or whatever.
his filters are canisters, which are
Okay,
even better than a hang on back, in my opinion.
even for a reef or a saltwater.
For a reef, I do like them because there's more like directional flow, so you can like move your output to like across the surface of the tank, or like lower it so it's kind of blowing like more in one direction, and kind of there's a lot more controllability with where you put your intakes and put your outputs. As far as like, having maybe like anaerobic bacteria or whatever like inside of it, I I don't know. I haven't really read into that at all. So maybe you
I
could look
just
on
know everyone
forums or
screams
whatever.
about that every time I talk about it. You
The
don't want
canister.
canister filters for a reef tank.
Yeah. I mean they must know something. The sand would be a pain in the butt to get into the filter, but other than that, I don't really have an answer for you. You could look it up online for better stuff.
Honestly, with how big was this tank again? Did you say? Because sumps is always the way to go, even for fresh water. Sumps are always nice to.
Sumps are the best because they maximize your water volume. They give you a ton more water volume.
90-gallon tank. I'd set up a 40-gallon sump. Heck.
Yeah,
That'd
once
be another-
you can do a DIY sump. Joey made videos on them and everything.
yeah.
It's, take advantage of like $1 per gallon sale or something like that. Build your own sump. It is more expensive, especially once you get into the plumbing and everything, but save up for it, add to it over time. It doesn't need to be an immediate expense. But any filter is better than no filter. So what you got on it right now can be upgraded, but while it's on it right now, it's better than not having it on it right now.
See, Lisa says she has an Aquarium 70 Reef Octopus BH90H hang on the back and 2 Corella Hydros, and her tank's doing fine. So I guess a filter is a filter. If you can make it work, make it work. I personally, though, don't like hang on the back filters. The only reason why I'm even contemplating on a Aquaclear 70 is for that nano tank that I'm doing. It just, the way that Inappropriate Reefer set it up, it just looks so easy. It's just simple,
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to give you enough flow for the tank. It's 10 gallons, so.
Yeah. If we're talking, I want to talk a little bit more about the nano tanks because that's what the whole purpose of this live stream is about. So I don't want to disappoint anybody who might have, just clicked in to it. And if you have, welcome. But if you're new, well, you can rewind to the beginning where we covered the nano tanks a lot more in detail. But the nano tanks have a huge draw for beginner reef keepers. That's why I got mine. I thought this was a much better way to go. And the biggest thing is financially. You can get a Fluval Evo, which is this setup. I've modified mine, of course, but you can get like the beginner setup, which I started with for like, I think it's like, I want to say it's like $140. So it's really not bad. And that comes with the lighting. That comes with, your in-tank filter and everything. And then you add, some sand to it, maybe $20 in sand, maybe $40 in live rock and stuff. So you can get the whole thing. I'd say you could probably get the whole thing going for under 400 easily, with sand, rock, your tank, maybe a pair of clownfish, filter stuff, if you know where the right place to look is. And that's the biggest thing about having a nano tank that's the best for a beginner. And don't be scared off by everybody saying nano tanks are harder to take care of, because they're really not if you take it slow. So Chung, like if you're starting your 10-gallon tank, take it slowly, like you do any other tank.
I don't
Fill
take
it up.
Tank slowly.
But take this one slowly. Take this one slowly,
well,
please.
Because I know what I'm doing with the Planet tanks. But with the Reef, I'm going to take it slow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually, and here's the thing. I'm not in a hurry to put livestock in a tank that I'm cycling, so I tend to overcycle, I guess. I don't know if you could actually do that. So, yeah, but I don't mind the setup part and having it cycling. So I'm probably going to go with your suggestion just because it's cheaper. Get the live sand, go the dry rock, get that light that Inappropriate Reefer has, get an Aqua 70 for a Refugium, and go that route. And
I'll be interested to see the how that works out over time and the evolution of that.
The only thing, the scariest thing that I'm going to do with that tank is derim it.
Oh, because I hate doing that. I hate doing that.
I'm like a gorilla when it comes to snacks. I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, let's derim them. I'm like, it's not going off. It's not going off. All right, smash.
Just smash. Yeah.
It's gonna go off, dang it, kind of thing.
I did that I took apart a 20-gallon tank, and actually one of the sides of the 20-gallon tank is the lid on my reef tank. So, you can tell I wasn't able to put it back together. But
look at Joey's video on how to put together a damn glass tank.
Yeah, that's what I did, but I ended. Oh, that's what happened. I was trying. I did something. I ended up doing something that cracked one of the panels, and I never got around to like having them professionally like cut or like got another piece or whatever.
Yeah,
But the trim was really annoying because you have to like get the razor blade and scrape around it and then pop it off, and then you have to clean up the stuff all around it, and it's like, oh.
I
So I
know.
don't envy you there. I don't envy you at
Well, I'm
all.
trying to rim all my damn tanks right now. It's just like the thing. I'm like, oh, it looks so pretty. I needed to rim it.
Yeah, right.
You know?
That's the thing now. And then like 30 years from now, people are gonna be like, look at this ugly tank without a rim around it.
No, right? Yeah,
Just like everything.
it's like fashion, you know.
Yeah.
Rim tanks are in this year. Oh, you bastards!
Yeah. Now I gotta take all my
Glue
rimless
everything
tanks.
back together again, jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna make like detachable rims where you can just like put them on or like magnet them on.
Oh yeah, that'll work. That's what I should do. Maybe make a whole product of rim. Well, that's not really the point. The point of a rim is to keep the tank together, I guess. Even though
Yeah.
you don't really need it anymore.
Yeah. In
So
smaller tanks. And then you take apart like a 120, you're like, let's de-rim it. And you pull the rim off and
I would never do that to a tank that big. No, thank you. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm really scared about DIY stuff because I tend to go overboard on stuff. So
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna check the comments. See what's going on down there.
they're just talking to themselves.
Lisa asked me if I have a sump in my Nano or if it's all in one. It's a all in one. So you've got like you can see this like little shaded portion back here. This is like, and you got the black panel. This is the all in one tank. So it goes in this side and then it goes down and then it goes back up like a. I actually built like a in tank media basket. You can see other videos on my channel about that. It goes through the filter floss and like bio balls, and I used to have ChemiPure in there. I don't anymore. And then it goes into the next one where I have some Chaeto growing, and then into the return chamber with the heater and stuff. So it's all a nice built-in all-in-one.
Is that a protein skimmer on top?
No, you would think, right? It actually looks a lot like one. I used to have a protein skimmer. This is my world's smallest reef tank.
Oh,
If you
gee.
have you seen that video?
No, I
made it.
haven't. But you
I
know
made it.
what? That answers Ryan's question. He asked, "What's the smallest reef tank you can have?" I forgot about that
There
question.
you go, Ryan. This
Why
thing.
does it have a condom on top of it?
Okay, it does not. It's a glove.
Okay.
I'm
Why
a
do you have
Christian
a cow condom
man.
on top of it? Then
But this the evaporation was really going out of hand, so I had to put like a little elastic glove over it to make a little makeshift lid.
now, when do you need a protein skimmer? Should you have one on a nano tank like that?
You can. All of the nano skimmers that I have seen or I've talked to people about, they really don't work all that well. I used to have the Fluval PS2.
Mm-hmm.
It did its job, but first of all, it was really loud. Second of all, it was a very like wet skim. Like it was really it was really thin, really like light in color. So it did its job, but it did it okay. It wasn't the greatest. And I always had to clean out the sponge because it's in the first chamber like this one. I always
Mm-hmm.
had to clean out the sponge. It was just a bigger pain than it was worth.
Got it.
Nano skimmers, just in general, people always try them. They'll always try the newest one that comes out. Maybe this is a great nano skimmer, but it never ends up working. Or
Hey,
it's
so what
always
do you
too
think
loud.
about when I do my 10-gallon nano, getting a sump for it? Like, I've seen people have sumps for 10-gallon tanks. I don't know why,
Mhm.
but just for the hell of it, maybe I should do that.
I mean, you could do it just for the heck of it. Like do like a little 5-gallon sump underneath it. That
Oh,
would
I
be
was thinking like a 40-gallon sump.
yeah, a 40-gallon sump.
On a 10-gallon tank.
I mean, that
That'd
would
be
be
funny.
pretty great.
It'd be just like the title of the video would be "Why."
Yeah, right. Just why with a couple of question
Why? Why
marks.
don't you switch it around?
Yeah, seriously.
I think I would do it just to get views. You know what I'm saying?
You could. Well, why the heck do you think I have this thing?
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
just like wake up one day and decide I really want to make the world's smallest reef tank. I was like, hey, I could make the world's smallest reef tank and people might actually watch that video. So I did it.
No, I
And it's
can watch that
entertaining.
video. You got to pimp that video out a bit more.
It's on there. It's like one of my more recent videos.
Is it getting hits?
I think it's at like 200 something, so it's not bad.
Hmm. Maybe I keyword it right better or whatever. I gotta
Yeah,
take a
you
look.
can go through all my stuff and rewrite me all sorts of keywords.
Yeah. I'm doing that with a lot of people right now. I'm going through other stuff.
You sh-
I'm like, you want me to review this video for you? And they're like, yeah. And then I'll go through and go, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, this is wrong.
yeah, that'll be $5. Thank you.
Yeah, nah, I'm not charging.
You should though. People do.
Nah, not the aquarium hobby people. If I ever go and decide to do that other channel I'm talking about where I help people do YouTube, I would probably figure some kind of monetary thing. But
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check the comments once again because that yielded a good results last time.
Do you have space in your house for you? I don't know who he's asking, but I never have space in my house for me. It's all filled with fish stuff and tabletop gaming stuff. So I should really sell off all my tabletop gaming stuff since I'm not doing much of it anymore. Little Wings, is there any reason to get rid of biofilm protein film with salt water, or is it like fresh water that it's just because it looks nasty? I use cheap airstone to get rid of the one on mine.
Biofilm protein. So you mean like the little like the oil on top of the water?
Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah.
That's what he means. That's what I was talking to Chung about that. I don't know if it was at the beginning of the stream or before the stream went. Um, yeah, it was about like with the flow. You do get that in saltwater tanks. It's pretty common. I had that for a little while. The biggest thing is surface agitation. So like I have my power head, which is a you can see like the little corner of it here. It's an ice cap gyre 1K, and it is just blasting the top of the water.
Yeah, he's asking, is there a reason to get rid of it, or is it okay? We're just getting rid of it because it's ugly.
No, it's just ugly. There's no real reason to get rid of it. It could show that your oxygen exchange isn't the greatest. But other than that, there's really no reason to get rid of it. It's harmless. It just looks ugly in my opinion.
Well, I think, for planet tanks, I suggest you get rid of it only because you want that oxygen exchange. A lot of people are like, well, if you have biofilm, then you're going to rack up your CO2. And I'm like, you're also going to lose your O2
Yeah.
and fish. So it's like, just get rid of it. And you want that equilibrium going with O2 and CO2. So you got to get rid of that biofilm. That stuff is nasty anyways.
Yeah. I don't like the look of it at all.
Yeah. It's like I dumped olive oil in my tank or something.
Blacksmith just changed his name to Jacob Goldfish. Welcome to the world, Jacob Goldfish.
Uh-oh. The only reason someone would do that is he's going to start a YouTube channel.
Rutro.
Uh-oh, Rutro. Got another person on board, another aquatic.
Trouble. He's going to pass me and you combined.
There you go.
In one
who's
day.
going to pass us? Is that guy. I don't know if you were in the stream still yesterday. Did you even attend my stream yesterday? But there was this guy called Warrior Planet Tanks.
I've never heard of him.
I don't know. He came in and he said hi and he's talking with us. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I got to make a whole YouTube series where we pit Planet Tank people against each other, like cool. American Warrior, make them run an obstacle course to get to lands. Yeah. That's going to be cool.
There's another guy. He's already passed me. He's at like 3,000 subscribers, but I think he deserves a lot more. His name is Real Reefing TV. So if you guys are in here, we got 10 viewers. If like 5 of you go on to Real Reefing TV, that's REAL and then reefing, like reef tank TV, and just like comment that I almost said Taco Bro like it was YouTube, or Xbox. But if you go over to that video and you say Fish Nerd Vlogs sent me or whatever, I think it would be cool because he really deserves a lot more subscribers. There's good production value in most, if not all, of his videos.
So you're asking for a comment bomb. That's what you're asking for.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of want credit for sending people over there. I mean, come on.
And of course, you get cut of the profit too. That's
well, yeah. I mean, I get a little bit of exposure there.
Yeah, you get a couple cents.
But truly, no, you don't even need to say you came from me. Just go subscribe to the guy because he makes really good content.
Mm-hmm. Best Double O Steelers is in the house. Welcome to the live chat.
Steelers?
Yeah, dude. I'm not a sports guy. I don't care.
Oh, come on. I'm in Cleveland, so
Yeah.
Hey,
There you go.
they couldn't even beat us last year. Or was it this year? I don't even remember because all the Browns years blend together for me, but we were actually decent this year. Steelers.
Well, Jacob Goldfish just subscribed, I guess. To your
Thanks,
invite.
Jacob.
We're going to have a sports war here.
You're in CLE 2 and you're a Steelers fan. That makes you a bandwagon and like the worst of the worst. You are a Steelers fan just so that other Clevelanders don't like you. That's just like dirty. Unless you were born in Chicago or Chicago. I can't even think. We've been going way too long.
That's a different team, isn't it?
Yeah, the Chicago's the Bears.
I don't know. How would I know? I'm not a sports guy. I only care when the Niners are up there, and that's it. And that haven't been in years, so tells you how much I know about sports. So yeah.
Well, we just hit an hour and a half, so I think we're gonna have to wrap this up. I do appreciate you all coming and watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like I always say, leave a like below and subscribe to the channel. Also, go check out the water box. I think at least in the first draft of this whole live stream, I had it linked in the description. I might have forgotten to put that back in, but the chances are if you're watching this, you're already subscribed to him. But if you're not, go check out the water box on YouTube. That's Chung right over here.
Right here. And what have we learned from the stream? Put condoms on top of your little mini reef tanks.
Yeah. If you're, it's a glove. I can't even anymore. We're ending.
We gotta go, man.
We gotta go, man. We're all way too tired.
I'm destroying his channel. By the way,
seriously,
guys, this is what happens if you have a channel and you invite me on board. I just get all dirty and totally destroy.
He's destroying my image. I'm
sorry.
It's over, man. It's over. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Bye.